Schmelcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
How are my bros?
We're good.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Jacob Orms.
What is your qualifications, Jake?
I have none.
Jake has a middle school degree. Ben?
Je m'appelle Benjamin.
Welcome to our second podcast. This one's a fun one, I think, because it talks about something that, again, something we've talked about a lot, essentially. And it's kind of reverse bullying in a way that I've kind of seen online. And I think the overarching question is, and it's a very rhetorical question, but why do you like science? And a lot of people can answer that for the first initial answer, which is, well, I like science because it's the right thing and it's truth and it's a fact. Well, I would believe that if people did that for everything in their life, and people, as we know, are, by the author Dan Ariely talks about it very awesomely, people are predictably irrational. So to say that I am a fan of science, and that means that everything in your life would be science-based. Mm-hmm. But I've noticed, because I'm fortunate that I get to raw powerlift and bodybuild, and I see that there's this huge divide right now that bodybuilding is science heavy. Like, it's out of control. Well, it's good in control, I should say. It's a lot of science, but powerlifting has not reached that heavy science culture just as of yet. It's on the way, but it isn't there yet. And between the two parties, especially in social media, I think my biggest question in bodybuilding is, we both love the sport, both sides. They both are passionate about it. It both gives them something, some type of intangible in their life they can't get anywhere else. But why do you love science so much in bodybuilding? And I'm gonna open forum to my fellas.
Jake, you want to start?
I don't even know if I have an answer for that.
Okay, it's okay.
Acceptable.
We'll get there. We'll get to that. I think the first thing I'd like to say with it is direction would be my first response. I think it's a very personality driven thing too. Is if you look outside and the first thing you think about everything is why, and I think sometimes people expect science to be perfect in that it's giving you, yes, this happens, no, this doesn't happen, black and white, and it's not. And I think the beauty of science is that there's a lot of gray. And I think the key to understanding everything, something very strong about my personality is that I like to see what unites things. Where is that dot that connects to both lines that are going two different places? And when you can appreciate a scientific method and quote unquote evidence-based approach, what happens is you start to, it's almost like it opens up another color in the visible light spectrum, where you start to be able to see things that are underlying everything, behavioral things. I guess I'll try to make it less abstract. So I started going to school for nutrition, and I was always interested in the concepts, that the framework that underlies both adaptation in training and nutrition. I remember I saying that in high school and undergrad. It's like, I want to know about both. I want to know about both and what drives both and how they connect, because I knew they connected, but I couldn't understand the word of why or anything like that. And physiology is the word. And through nutrition, I was exposed to biochemistry. And through exercise science, I was exposed to physics. And so I went in with the expectation of how can I change my physique through nutrition intervention. And then from there, I learned that, wow, I actually really like biochem. Wow, I actually really like physics. Wow. And then this year, moving here, living with Ryan, is like, he gave me another perspective, which was, wow, I actually really like philosophy and psychology. And what is the one thing that penetrates all of those fields is science. There's not just research in physics. There's research that unites all of these fields. And if you can appreciate that it's there, you can start to get closer to figuring out your own problems. And one thing both of these guys know in this house is I have this way of getting strange illnesses and then building my own rope to find my way out. And it's fun, actually. Like, I never feel why me when I get hurt. It's like, oh, this is exciting. Now I can figure something out how to dig
so
out
what I'm kind of hearing, and I think this is I got my answer through listening to Ben's answer, Jake, is he really enjoys science just like anyone enjoys the beach. He just enjoys it. And I think contrarily, the question I would like to pose to people listening, and as well as you guys and you, Jake, if learning about physiology and bio, even in exercise science, were not beneficial to give you some type of advantage in the sport, would you still be interested in it?
That's a great question.
That's where I think I'm going with why do you like science?
I think that probably, as kind of how Ben said, like, that's where the interest like stemmed from, was okay, bodybuilding, like, how do I, because I've done it both ways. I've done, I guess, kind of like the bro way, you'd say, where I didn't really track anything at a meal plan and stuff like that. And then I've done it kind of the alternative way. So I guess, it's my I guess kind of yearning, I don't know how you would say it, for science or like evidence-based things came probably from just literally the question of like, how do I get bigger muscles? Like,
right.
It's kind of funny, but as you start to learn about that process, you learn that you like other things too. And I think the cool thing about it is, one, is a really good tool to know how to think scientifically and objectively and use that method. Like, if you read a study.
So why though? Because you understand you two do it, but why is that a good tool?
So why? If you understand that, like, just the literally just the basic methodology of it, and you can read, and if you can read and apply kind of like those concepts to just like a textbook and just understand really fundamental things, you can kind of derive things almost on your own. And I'm not saying that you're gonna get the whole laboratory experience by reading a textbook, but you can figure out a lot.
How to experiment.
Yeah,
field
experiment. But do field experiments just on your own by understanding the process.
So this has become, in a sense, we all sustain from these sports, and we do, and with our company and that we're building and everything. So this is our livelihood. What of the person, right, who works 60 hours a week, and just needs to know, how do I get better? And he turns to the science side as opposed to the bro side, as we discussed in our earlier podcast. Let's be real, he doesn't have time to think organically about this. And so I think that guy or girl, what kind of inadvertently starts happening is that you use science as ammunition, or you use science as a tool. I guess, where do you guys stand on that? And I'll say my stance. Me personally, I think it's awesome that this person is doing, the most logical thing to do, and they just literally want the fact, what do I do? Tell me what to do, and let me get it done. But in terms of, I guess, that yearning and wanting to know just to know, like, will there ever be an opportunity for that guy who's, it's just, I don't want to say the word weekend warrior because it sounds condescending, but someone who has a full-time life and can't be kind of I don't want to say embossed, surrounded by this 24 hours a day as we are. What of that guy or gal, nice gal?
So I guess my question, just so I'm understanding your statement correctly, is, are you asking what would be our perspective or advice to the person who's enjoying surface science with the intent to be an authority?
Well, I want to reiterate the first. No.
Okay.
No. I'll say no to that. But I think I want to reiterate the first question, which was, why do you like science? And a lot of people, the honest answer is because it makes me win.
Yeah.
Makes them win arguments.
Yeah. Okay. So
It's-
that
they're using
sense,
it
that
like
sense
almost-
of ammunition.
Okay.
Now we're getting now the wheels are turning.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is sort of a problem. That it's something I see online, and I think it's a little out of control in my personal opinion.
It's like using the logic of science to essentially debate people.
I think it's there exists an ability to physically strong arm somebody and intellectually strong arm somebody, and I think who is the strongest, who speaks the strongest to the people is the person who's not going to crush you down and whip you physically when you betray master.
Yeah.
because the point of, and this is completely in my opinion, but the point of science and I guess I'd say practicing it, which is strange to even say because I'm not in academia, but I think it's where I derive my enjoyment, is scientific quests. I think that it, and I hate, it sounds like I'm kind of on a soapbox with this, but my personal belief is that it should derive from a desire to be progressive. So look at people like Tesla, look at people like Einstein, is they weren't doing it to be the president of the United States, who's the person who stands at the pulpit and delivers a speech to everybody that you need to think this and be this, and if not, you're doing it wrong. Where I think it fuels me is, and I guess that's what you're asking, right? Is what's our personal...
Right, and I'm kind of liking, because I got a new thought.
Okay.
And I want to
So let me just finish my last line of it.
shy it.
Which is yeah, I think the last thing to say on that is, I look at people throughout history who have taken us to where we are now with the technological revolution and the information age, and I think the fitness realm is experiencing the information age, and it can be wonderful, but it can also turn dark. And what the way I see it in my view is, if we can all appreciate evidence, not say that this is how it is and this is the right answer because there's evidence behind it, but we can appreciate it and see it in different perspectives and contextually, then I think we can all start to carry towards this greater place. And I think we reach throughout history these breakthroughs, and then we have a stagnation period, and then there's this fight of people who say, this is the old, like when the world was flat and everybody believed it, and then it's like heresy to say no, the world is round. That is what I believe science to be, and the purpose of it.
The almost like the fight against saying it's good enough.
Yeah. It's never good enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So who are the man, this is a very bad question to ask, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Who's responsible for this, right? because you have Joe Smo guy with great physique, and he's just kind of family guy, and he's busy with work, and he needs to tune into someone. Disclaimer: we're not saying we're the guys who are right or who are the tune into. We're trying to speak objectively about something. Who does he tune into? Does he tune into the guy who's like, well, this guy's got 900,000 followers and he's the loudest guy that I know? Or it seems to me that the example you use with the Teslas and the guys like Edison, or I'm sorry, I forgot the guy who helped the guy who helped Einstein. I think his name is something. But those guys who essentially, those guys did it because they kind of described it the same way you and Jake described it. It was just something you want to do. You generally want to do it. And what I find in that with anything, the real gatekeepers to the bulk of the information are the people who just genuinely want to do this. But I think in fitness, I mean, these guys, I mean, people like Stu Phillips and people who are really on the forefront of what we should be doing in fitness are not loud. They're simply not loud enough, and they're being drowned out by people who are loudest, and they're doing it for the celebrity effect. So I think now we're running into some events I see and things like that is science celebrities. And let's be real, there has been science celebrities and classical music celebrities for millennia. They've always existed.
They always will.
But I feel with fitness, it's something unique that has never really been seen before in history. It's like a rock star level of science.
Popularity contest almost.
It is.
That's dangerous for the guy who just needs to use science as ammunition.
Certainly.
You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, how does he hedge against how does he or she hedge against that? How does he or she know, well, this is who I need to find my information from? And how do you verify that? When we talked about obviously having interest yourself, but if this person wants to know what is the best way to eat for an endomorphic type of person, do they Google it and listen to the first pop-up? Mike Chang or Chong, or what's this guy's name?
Yeah,
something like six-pack abs,
So,
something like that.
Here's, I don't know, I guess something that I would say is at some point, those people that are using science as a sheer vehicle to popularity, fame, and what have you, at some point, they probably, before all of that happened, they probably were a pretty quiet person, and they probably did do really good work. And they did it maybe one or two times, a couple times, and they capitalized on that, and it really worked out for them. But what you kind of have to look at is, what are you doing? What are you doing right now? What are you doing right now? And what are the things you're saying right now? Where are those? How are you substantiating that? And where is that coming from? Like in this moment, because you can say whatever you want in a video. Absolutely. And you can it's insubstantial. But if you look at the people that are quiet and they're probably not talking too much, because it's going to be a trade-off at some point. Once the popularity kicks in, your work is probably gonna suffer.
Right. Biased.
Yeah, and you're just going to assume that everything that maybe, I'm not saying definitely, but you might start thinking that everything you did before was just right, and just ride that train as long as you can. Yeah. So if to somebody that doesn't know the difference or doesn't know what to look for, is continually look for those people that are still pushing the envelope.
In the foxhole currently.
Yes.
Not talking about how the war was 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Right. That's hard because, and I think this kind of gets into, there are some great people, obviously people like Dr. Zordos who are very accessible, for example, but there are some people in academia who are so elite in their thinking that the layperson can't even get to them, you know. And I think that's where we are with fitness. I think it's that academia is in our culture I mean, less than 1% of the population has a PhD, and especially within just any science, any science. Versus in arts, it's probably about half and half. So what we have is this impenetrable world of information with academia, who kind of has it in one. I think one thing that I want to add is that I don't have a science background. So what I had to do individually, and guys, this may be a good idea for you, is to literally learn how to read a study. Like I literally I saw a triangle. I was like, okay, what does triangle mean? You know, I literally took one by one. I wanted to learn how, so I can kind of get in the world of these guys. In academia, the jargon is such on such a high level.
It's technical, yeah.
It's on such a technical level, and even your experience. Tell me what the experience you had at EB. Like, yeah, most people would think Ben's a smart guy, but he told me about his experience at EB stands for
experimental biology. It's basically, in my opinion, to my level of understanding at this point of scientific conferences, it's pretty much like the science Super Bowl related to the health sciences, so anatomy and phys and biochem and nutrition, and it's mind-blowing. So again, because I'm not in academia, but I try to at least keep one foot in each domain, which is in academia, and then in, I guess what I'd say is more applied, which is what I'd like to think de novo is applying some of the concepts of research. But it's mind-blowing. I went to EB, I believe it was 4 years ago, and then I went this year, and just to see the progression it's like learning another language. And yeah, it's you to be there, you kind of have to want to, you can't fake it. I don't know what else to say on that. Yeah.
But here, like, something that is important, and going back to why you like science, or the kind of answer to that question, or the overarching theme of this podcast is I remember you coming back, and yeah, it was crazy. Like, a lot of it was difficult to understand, yep. But you kind of relish those moments now. Yep. You're looking for that. Yeah. When I come across something that it's like, and I read it and I'm just like, I have no idea what that means. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. But I get excited.
Yep, it is exciting.
And it's kind of like, Ryan, I think you've read the book Flow, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm not even sure if this came from that, but kind of that like table where it's like challenge versus,
absolutely, like
the challenge versus your skill level, basically. And it's nicer. I think some people are skewed a little bit more to where the challenge needs to be a little bit higher.
Let me explain it real quick
to become interested.
So essentially, I'm sorry, I had to cut you off, Jake, but so you guys understand, it's imagine this a right angle, and going vertically is I think it's skill level, and then going horizontally is from 0 to 10 or 0 to 100.
X-axis, right?
Yeah, on the x-axis, yeah. It's challenge. So essentially, flow is a sweet spot, as Dr. Mihaly, I can't pronounce his last name, puts it between the perfect amount of challenge and the perfect amount of talent, essentially. Yeah. And I think one thing with science that a lot of people get initially is that when you're not the PhD in the field, you're instantly at 0% skill and 100% challenge. And he explained that as anxiety. And so in reality, new science to anyone is chronic anxiety when you first read something you don't know. Yep. So to think that I'm just gonna say it, that your loudmouth science guy, who's your favorite guy, has just mastered all of these and can speak on anything it's asinine. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to think that the guy out of the foxhole can be speaking loudly about physics and bio and organic chem and all these things and these answers, and he can speak from how to get bigger calves all the way to the protein bolus for leucine. A person can have an opinion, but to be the true master, I think it's a bit silly, and you should ask that person, why do you like science?
Yeah.
Like, are you rock starring me right now, or do you actually know what you're speaking about?
Yeah, it's like I said, the interesting thing about that I think about any field is everybody gets into it for a different reason. And I think as you get further into it, I think those motives become more present in your work. And I think there's really, the word that we're dancing around is just passion, because it's what makes you get up in the morning. And like the rain today, like I watched this amazing storm we had, and I was watching the lightning. It was really close proximity to the house, and I was like, I need a lightning rod.
You know what I thought today? During the lightning storm? Wow, we were in two separate places. There was a moment where this lightning flashed. It was really close to the house because I counted the seconds between the flash and it was probably about a mile in the house. And then the microwave reset, the internet went out, and I said, okay, that probably hit a transformer box. And I thought, is there any way that thing had sent out enough electrostatic across just the open fluid field that it shut off, it interrupted waves? And I thought that, and I actually read about that today for about half an hour. So I think that's kind of where, as we talked about organic interest and passion stems. I'm not Benjamin Franklin. I'm not going to go fly a kite, but just having that genuine interest, I think, in anything you do, including your bench press, anything, that will keep you progressive, and you won't have to rely on the guy who knows everything. Even if you don't have time, it doesn't take a lot of time to ponder. Just in your everyday doings. I
think I would like to touch on one thing that you said before, that you posed as a question, that I think I've formulated a response for, because I didn't originally have one. And it's, you said, how does somebody find the more pure things in some way? And I think it's that, I think you have to excavate, you have to dig a little more if you really want that. I think you'll get, at each step in the road, at each process, you're going to get some answers. And if you want the 1 minute, give me the quick blurb like they have on the 60-second supplement review on bodybuilding.com, and you think you have the answers now, you most certainly don't.
You most certainly don't.
You don't. You have the belief that's supposed to be injected into you in 60 seconds. So there has to be some level of curiosity that is the carrot in front of you that you're chasing.
You mean like epistemic curiosity?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So if you the better the information you want, it's just like diamond mining. You have to dig, and you have to be excited to dig. And if you're not, that's fine, but understand that you're getting much more of a belief injected perspective than a objective one. And obviously humans, everybody's got subjective, belief that's infused into everything. But the deeper you drive, the closer you get to objectivity.
Yeah, just keep asking questions, more and more questions, and you'll eventually, get deep enough to where, because let's get deep. And I mean, no disrespect to anybody who does more kind of like training studies, but those kind of they're very useful in like thinking about what is actually happening, like superficially.
Yes.
But they are in their nature like superficial. So if you are reading a training study and that's as far as you go, you might miss some things. and you're gonna have to ask deeper questions like, well, why did that happen?
Mechanistic stuff.
Yeah, mechanistic things. So why did that happen? And then you're gonna go deeper into that, and then why did that happen? Why did that happen? And you're gonna get into physiology and just metabolism
Signal
and
transduction,
yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Microwave.
So yeah, as long as you're curious enough to go that far, you'll probably find some good information.
I think infrastructurally we do need to touch on a few curious topics. One popular book people are always asking about books is Curious by who wrote Curious?
Ian Leslie?
Yeah. Ian Leslie. And I just wanted
I have no idea how I just remember that. No clue.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
I have no clue at all.
Yeah, that was pretty good. pretty good.
Pretty good.
And when I read it, I always take notes when I read, and there's a few things that I took notes on. And I'm glad I did, because I can remember it off the top. And one of my favorite quotes from the book was, "The only reason people don't know much is because they don't care much." And this kind of ties back to people using fitness as a weapon. If you only want to know the scientific answer, only want to know it, just to know how to be better or to beat someone, and there's no curiosity attached behind it, you're going to limit yourself. And so I think we in this house often, and in this company, we passively say things that I think we don't really realize how much what Ian Leslie would call epistemic curiosity we have. And it's this the puzzle versus mystery type of thinking. And in this book he explained for looking for answers, and this will be applied, and I'll bring it back, it can be applied to fitness, is essentially things like Google, which are supposed to make us smarter, are actually making us more dumb. Because if you look at an airplane in the sky and you're 12 years old and you say, I wonder how that airplane works. A 12-year-old, it would be a mystery in 1950. He would more than likely go to flight school, become a pilot, and he would learn.
Yeah.
And it would be a mystery to him. Modern day things are puzzles. You say, I wonder how an airplane works, and you literally Google it, and the curiosity ends right then and there. You're like, oh, okay, and that's it. And so obviously things like Google make us better. I Googled how do I make a podcast, and I'm speaking to you right now. Right? I mean, obviously, like, some things are good, but I think one thing to keep in mind is how to have that person you look up to. Chances are, if it's the top of the Google search, they're probably really good for entry level things, for a few general things. But if you're in the sport for 5 years, 3 years, even 2 years, you're gonna have to start getting into specifics at one point or another. And that one person is, I don't care if you're Galileo, a Renaissance man of all Renaissance. Like, you cannot be an expert at all things. There's just not enough time and resource. And also finding those right people who are epistemically curious, and they're in the middle of the fight and the firefight right now. And two, naturally it'll make you that curious as well. Like, you'll start becoming that curious over time for yourself as well. So this is not a lesson
but isn't that the beauty of a great teacher? Like,
yeah,
I could think of every good teacher I've ever had throughout school is they dangled the carrot well for me.
There's this Zen quote I like, and it says a student is useless to its master if the student is forever a student. Like, and it's true. Yeah. Like, you have to at one point break away and say, I've learned a lot from, I'll even use me, right? I've learned a lot from Ryan Doris and his videos and things like that. And guys, I don't have any degree in philosophy. Like, I just read a few books and I spoke my mind about it. Like, leave me, like, break away from me, like, go to the next level. Like, get into the guys I read, get into the guys that are like the masters of this stuff. And that's always been my hope in this. And I guess don't let society, wow, I can't say this word, the pressures of society say, well, I'm loyal to this person and I want to listen to all the bullshit that Ryan spews out. So in terms of that book, it's a great book. I would highly recommend. And again, it's one of those things that's not a clear-cut answer.
Yep.
Yeah, and to those people who are looking for a clear-cut answer. And if you may have asked one of us something, even just like randomly on like Facebook or something, and if you don't get a response, I know I'm not going to say for you guys, but at least for me personally, like I get apprehensive about answering certain questions because I know what they're really looking for. They're looking for the answer.
The answer.
And I can't, like, literally people just asking things like, like what should I eat? Or like, it's just like I don't know.
You can't formulate that response in one sentence.
Yeah, and it's they're literally just looking for the answer, and
simple answer to a complex problem.
Yeah, I cannot give it to you, and I'm afraid that if I do, and if I do try to give you something that, one, it's not going to have any context, and you're going to, two, take that one sentence thing, even if it's like a general thing, and that will be your be all end all, and you won't keep going.
So you're touching on my favorite quote from the Curious book. It's just amazing, and I'm gonna butcher it, but I'm gonna get the underlying theme of it is that I possess a device in my pocket that I can find the world's answers in, and I use it for arguing with strangers on the internet and looking at cat memes.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying in that is, what are you talking about at the deepest level is you're killing somebody's curiosity. It's not your job to kill somebody's curiosity.
Yeah.
And that is why what you talked about with the Google thing is it's seriously like bringing in a machine gun to a BB gun fight. So
slingshot.
It needs to be used appropriately. If you use Google to find the answers, you are most certainly not getting the answers. You should use Google for direction. And if it is used as that tool, then it is an amazing tool in your arsenal. I mean, I found out how to source raw materials from Google.
Absolutely. Now we have a company.
Without having a food service, a food science background, and not really being in the industry at all. I was just an incredibly curious person working at WIC. So, yeah, I mean, you use it appropriately, and I know that's like I'm leaving it hanging like what's appropriate use of Google, but the best way I could say it is don't use it to kill your curiosity. What he says in that book is, just like you said before, is before in the mid-1900s or early 1900s, what would happen is you had a question you were curious about, and you had to do a shitload of footwork. You had to go to the library, find the book about it, read the whole book to find out the answers. You have to understand that in the process of searching, you are going to get direction on 90 other questions.
Yes.
Google dead ends your search by answering the one that you want. Don't lose those branches of the tree. Yeah. I tangent all the time. It's because tangenting is important.
That is the key.
That's how you get holistic viewpoint, not one-dimensional viewpoint.
Well, and I think tangents are a qualitative and vocal representation of science in the world. Everything affects everything.
Yep.
Right. There is nothing standalone.
Yep.
And I think one fundamental belief people have, and I'm not being condescending in this point whatsoever, is that one thing people can believe in is their religion, and it becomes a concrete answer. Now, if you do have religion, that's awesome, but know that that is the one thing that has one answer. In science, it's not like that. You can't carry over that fundamental concrete belief and say, well, if this thing gives me a concrete answer, then I need a concrete answer for everything. No. Religion is the only thing that serves that. There's nothing else in the world outside of religion that gives concrete answer. Like nothing.
This is not to it's not to bash beliefs, but the one thing that you have to understand about that omnipotent perceived power of something like that is there exists nothing, and maybe that's the appeal of having a monotheistic approach, is that there's something that's answering everything. However, there is a danger in that, because in a way, Google is our God right now.
Absolutely. It's the thing that answers everything.
And so what's the drawback to that is now you are a slave to Google. And maybe Google wants that, because
or even
it's
your fitness overlord.
So
that's awesome. Just leave that there.
So yeah, curiosity is your gasoline for your
Absolutely.
engine.
Desired difficulty is what he called it.
Yeah.
Desired difficulty.
Yep.
Wow. That was refreshing like a cucumber. As always, thank you for listening. That's a good one. I like that one.
Good times.
As always, for information, we are not your fitness overlords, but we do like to put out a few good things. Check out denovoconsulting.net and also our site,
Nutrition.com.
The Novo Nutrition. That's DNOVNO.com. No. Don't go to that site. Thank you, fellas.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Awesome, Overlord. All right, thank you guys.